This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 21st day of February in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. Tonight, multiple sources close to the Guyana government and the state-owned Guyana Power and Light Company have revealed to news source that a vessel, Gulfstream, which overturned offshore Tobago, spilling oil into the sea, was destined for Guyana, with fuel for the Guyana Power and Light Company. GPL has not issued any statement on the matter. However, a source close to the power company confirmed to news source that there may have been arrangements for the fuel to be supplied to the company, but the arrangements may have been shelved. No other detail was offered. The vessel, which capsized and overturned into the sea off the coast of Tobago, has spilled gallons of oil into the sea, causing a major headache and cleanup exercise for the authorities in Trinidad and Tobago, costing millions of dollars. Both Guyana and the Twin Island Republic are investigating the incident, since the crew of the vessel and the barge that was accompanying the vessel that overturned are still to be located. Today, Vice President Bara Jagdeo told news source that there is need for a full probe with regard to the incident and the possible links to the Guyana Power and Light Company.
We should have a full-fledged investigation, and we want to establish what the facts are. So if the fuel was to come to GPL, we should know about that. But from what they said, that they had, so far, they said to us, they had no agreement with any company that has been identified globally. These are the companies that own the tug, and the name of the vessel that was overturned in Trinidad and Tobago. They have no commercial engagement with them.
News source has learned that while there may have been no engagement or agreement with the companies that owned the overturned vessel or the barge that was accompanying it, there was reportedly a deal with local individuals to supply the fuel to the power company. Those individuals are believed to have contracted the vessel and the barge to ship the fuel to Guyana for sale to GPL. Vice President Jagdeo said the state-owned power company should make its records and contracts available.
GPL should make available now to you all of the information. These were publicly tendered, and we can make that available and who won the contracts.
And tonight there is also concern about the source of the fuel that was spilled. Marine tracker websites showed a vessel which capsized off the coast of Tobago, spilling all that fuel into the sea, was picked up in satellite images in Pozuelo Bay, Venezuela during the entire final week of January. It is suspected that more than 35,000 barrels of fuel might have been purchased from Venezuela, which would be against current U.S. sanctions against that country. Vice President Jagdeo said he is unaware of the source of the fuel.
I'm not sure about where the fuel was bought, but the thing is that GPL can easily give you the dates when we tendered, the bids they receive, who won the bids, and the contractual arrangements we had with them. We full transparency on this matter.
Minister of Public Works Juan Egil, who holds responsibility for GPL, when questioned by news source today about the reports of the spilled fuel being destined for GPL, explained that conversations on that matter are ongoing. While the vessel may not be a Guyana vessel, the cargo may have been destined for Guyana. So have you made checks with GPL to find out if it is they may have been in contract or contact with any company, whether Guyanese or not, to bring in that type of fuel?
As far as I'm aware, all of those conversations have been ongoing between the relevant stakeholders. And that's what I would say at this time.
Meanwhile, maritime sources who have been probing the satellite images recorded by tanker tracker websites have revealed the last images of the vessel being towed were captured just 2 days before the catastrophic oil spill. It is also believed that based on the satellite images captured, the vessels were being tracked throughout their journey and just before the spill. The Trinidadian authorities have been working closely with the authorities here in Guyana on the probe into the oil spill as they attempt to ascertain ownership of the overturned vessel and the whereabouts of the crew. 2 days ago, the investigations took another twist when packets of cocaine were found floating in the sea close to the overturned vessel that dumped oil into the area. Investigators in Trinidad and Tobago are probing a possible link. Meanwhile, prominent Georgetown businessman Mohammed Kulander of the Queensway Company today distanced himself from ownership of the vessels associated with the oil spill and any linkages to trading fuel. In a statement, he said he has never owned any fuel boat and has never been involved in the trading of fuel in Guyana or anywhere else in the world. He made it clear that he has no knowledge of the vessels involved in the incident. The statement by the businessman was issued after an anonymous Facebook page named him as someone linked to the vessels that caused the oil spill. He said he has since filed a police complaint over the social media post. More news coming up in just a moment.
Guyana's agriculture sector is receiving tremendous support from oil companies to aid its expansion. Investment from oil companies in cutting-edge technology is increasing and improving Guyana's agricultural output. SBM Offshore Guyana and ExxonMobil Guyana Limited support two of the largest hydroponics farms in the country. Their support not only creates employment for Guyanese, but also helps CARICOM to reduce its food import bill by 25% by 2025.
On Thursday, February 22nd, we're heading to the biggest wet fed of MASH, Splashamani 2024 at the Guyana National Stadium. Nuff Water, Pulse, Nuff Soca. The night before the holiday, Soca star Problem Child.
Ola Tunji.
Splashamani, the official wet fed of MASH 2024. Problem Child, Ola Tunji, and more to be added. Come, let's soak you down in water and soca. Early bird tickets $3,000. Brought to you by Hits and Jams Entertainment.
In 2024, $240.1 billion from oil revenues will be channeled into the country's development. These funds will support the government's investment into infrastructural developments, welfare programs, and improvement in the people's standard of living.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors, that my crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
Turning our attention now to the ongoing strike action by teachers. The government, through the Attorney General's chambers, has asked the High Court to push back the date for the hearing of that case brought by the Guyana Teachers Union, which is challenging the decision of the government to cut the salaries of the striking teachers. The case, which also challenges the government's decision to discontinue the deduction of union dues from the salaries of teachers, is expected to be heard in the High Court tomorrow. However, in an application filed yesterday, the Attorney General Anil Nandlal has asked for an extension. According to the application, which has been seen by news source, the Attorney General, through a battery of lawyers, is seeking an order from the High Court for an extension time of 14 days from the date of the hearing of the application so as to file an affidavit in answer to the union's application. The Attorney General in his application said he received notice from Justice Sandal Kissoon's registrar that the union's application would be heard tomorrow, Thursday, from 1:30 in the afternoon. However, he stated that the affidavits in support of the union's application, signed by Mr. Julian Cambridge, includes several allegations involving both entities and officials of the state, and it is therefore important for him to consult with those entities and officials before filing an affidavit in answer. It was noted too that the union's application entails 21 pages of pleadings and approximately 29 pages of exhibits, including correspondence to and from several officers of the state, as well as correspondences sent to the office of the president. Among those to be consulted are officials from the Office of the President, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Local Government, the Ministry of Labor, and the Ministry of Finance. The Attorney General's chambers said in the circumstances, it is impracticable for the applicant respondent to consult with all the relevant state entities, take instructions, and draft and file an affidavit in answer by the time set out by the court. The Attorney General said GTU's application raises numerous issues of fact and complex legal issues of law and public importance, which require mature and robust considerations. He said as a legal representative of the state, he requires adequate time to prepare an affidavit in answer that would accurately and comprehensively address all issues raised in the union's application. The Attorney General's legal team include the Assistant Solicitor General Shoshana Lau, Senior Legal Advisor Chevy Devonish, and State Counsel Candacia Lewis. Meanwhile, the GT Union's application filed by Attorney Darren Wade said that it has exhausted its efforts to get the government to negotiate the salaries package for the nation's teachers. The GTU said since it submitted its proposals in 2020, there has been no real movement by the government to sit with the union and finalize an agreement on salary increases and non-salary benefits. The union in its application explained that it has repeatedly written to the government through the President's Office and the Ministry of Education, seeking discussions on salary issues and salary increases, but many of its requests for meetings were left unanswered. The union wants the court to declare that the ongoing strike action is not illegal and that it followed all legal requirements and avenues before resorting to the strike. The GTU also contends that the government has been acting in bad faith and continues to act in bad faith by its decision to not only cut the salaries of the striking teachers, but its decision to also remove itself as an agent for the GTU in the deduction of union dues from the salaries of teachers. Well, the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, Coretta MacDonald, believes the application filed by the government seeking an extension of time to respond to the union's court case over the strike by teachers is an effort to delay the matter before the court, which challenges the government's decision to cut the salaries of striking teachers. The Attorney General has requested more time from the court to respond to the case.
We're not going to allow that to deter us because our teachers are resilient, they are resolved, that this issue must be resolved by sitting at the table.
Across the country, teachers are demanding that the government engages the Guyana Teachers Union in collective bargaining, which is a move that the teachers believe would see them receiving an across-the-board salary increase. In a multi-year proposal submitted more than 3 years ago, the union asks that teachers receive a 25% increase in their salaries to 2019 and 20% increase every year from 2020 to 2023. But the GTU General Secretary said the government has shown little regard for teachers or the proposal which was submitted.
Well, today is the 13th day and teachers are still out here all across this country because the government, they continue to show blatant disregard for our proposal. and for coming to the table.
McDonald said while the government is reporting that a large number of teachers have returned to the classrooms, the reality is that at many schools across the country, classes remain empty as both teachers and students continue to stay away from school as the strike action continues.
Across the country, school has not been like school. It's not business like as usual. Many of the schools, if you travel in Georgetown, you would see that, except for maybe Queen's College and the Bishop's High and St. Rose's and maybe St. Joseph, a part of St. Joseph's. The other schools have been closed. You may have 1 or 3 teachers in the school, but the students and the pupils, they're not at school. The parents are keeping their children at home. And for those children who are going into schools, they are all crammed into 1 or 2 classrooms. So no actual teaching is happening in schools. So that must impact the education sector.
The GTU said while ignoring the impact the strike continues to have on the education sector, the government continues to be engaged in a wait game, hoping that the strike action will eventually wind down. But the GTU has said that teachers across the country remain resolute and will continue to make their demands heard.
Guyana's agriculture sector is receiving tremendous support from oil companies to aid its expansion. Investment from oil companies in cutting-edge technology is increasing and improving Guyana's agricultural output. SBM Offshore Guyana and ExxonMobil Guyana Limited support 2 of the largest hydroponics farms in the country. Their support not only creates employment for Guyanese, but also helps CARICOM to reduce its food import bill by 25% by 2025.
At the most critical life-changing moments, the National Insurance Scheme is here to ensure that your needs are covered. Access reimbursement for medical expenses for various aspects of your medical care. We know that eye care is of utmost importance. Receive assistance with our Spectacle Care voucher. Visiting the dentist? Dental care is also covered under our sickness benefit services. Offset the funeral expenses of a loved one with costs covered by our funeral benefits. National Insurance Scheme. We're there every step of the way.
In 2024, $240.1 billion from oil revenues will be channeled into the country's development. These funds will support the government's investment into infrastructural developments, welfare programs, and improvement in the people's standard of living.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo, from its pristine rivers to its abundant resources. It's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect, and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
The government's gas-to-energy project is now expected to come on stream next year instead of later this year as was previously envisioned by the administration. However, the pipeline component of the project is expected to be ready by the end of this year. The administration is now hoping that the power plant will start delivering 200 megawatts of power by June 30 of 2025, and the project completion and delivery of 300 megawatts of power on a combined cycle by the end of 2025. During a presentation at the ongoing Guyana Energy Conference, the chairman of the Gas Ashore Energy Project Task Force, Winston Brasington, said the project suffered from some work delays, including the late delivery of equipment and issues with the foundation at the location chosen for the project. Guyana has also been seeking a $646 million loan from the U.S. Exim Bank to support financing of the onshore facilities. That loan has not yet been approved. For the pipeline component of the project, ExxonMobil is currently building out the infrastructure to the tune of $1 billion. The arrangement between the government and the companies at Exxon will reimburse by proceeds from the country's offshore production. Guyana will pay Exxon and its partners $55 million over a 20-year period at a fixed price with no adjustments. This year, the government approved $80 billion from the national budget to advance infrastructural works on the project, including upgrades to transmission and distribution lines. Once completed, the project is expected to reduce electricity costs and add approximately 250 megawatts of energy to the national grid. President of ExxonMobil Guyana, Alastair Rutledge, said the establishment of a local supply chain to support Guyana's rapidly advancing oil and gas sector was not only important to improve the efficiency of the company's operations, but to bolster economic activities across the country. In his address at the ongoing Guyana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo, Mr. Rutledge said during the early stages of the company's operations in Guyana, it depended heavily on the supply chain that existed in Trinidad and Tobago.
We benefited from the industry and the supply chain that existed in Trinidad when we started our operations here in Guyana. It was vital. Guyana did not have the sort of facilities needed to support drilling activities, to support the movement of production operations, all the equipment that's needed, the chemicals and everything else. And so we were highly dependent on Trinidad. But we made the decision early on with the government that we needed also to establish that supply chain here in Guyana, largely in the long term because it's more efficient.
He said while the move augurs well for the operations in the Stabroek Block, it also supported the country's transformational agenda. Rutledge said while the establishment of key infrastructure will benefit the oil and gas industry in the short term, in the long term those infrastructures would benefit the wider economy. He said such is the case of Guyana Shore Base.
So we did that first of all with the Guyana Shore Base, which now supports the operation of 6 deepwater drill ships. Most of the materials support those 6 vessels, but also 3 FPSOs, and indeed could support 6, 7, 8 floating production, storage and offloading facilities in the future. It has become a very effective strategic hub for our offshore operations and a vital conduit for what we need to run those operations.
And alluding to the Brilliant Hoop Shore Base, Rutledge said the oil company will continue to invest in more projects in Guyana and support activities that benefit both the industry and the people of the country. He said simultaneously the company is working closely with the government to build the country's local content. He noted that since 2017, the Center for Local Business Development has been helping local businesses and entrepreneurs to develop and reach industry standards so as to capitalize on opportunities that exist within the oil and gas sector.
But now I understand more than 6,200 Guyanese that are working in support of the oil and gas industry. More than 1,500 local businesses that are benefiting from this opportunity. And we have spent more than $1.5 billion with those companies. And this is just the beginning.
Additionally, Rutledge said more than $3.6 billion has been injected into the Natural Resources Fund from revenues generated from the production and sale of oil. He told those present at the conference that the partnership between Guyana and Exxon and its co-venturers remains strong and will continue to prove beneficial to the people of Guyana as the government continues to invest in the development of the country. Guyana's new ambassador to Venezuela, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, was formally accredited as Guyana's representative in the neighboring country on Tuesday. Ambassador Van West Charles presented his letters of credence to President Nicolas Maduro at a ceremony held at the Venezuelan presidential palace. A release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that Dr. Van West Charles conveyed greetings from President Irfan Ali and the people of Guyana and expressed his commitment to work towards advancing the relations between Guyana and Venezuela. The release also stated that President Nicolas Maduro requested the ambassador to convey a message of high regard to President Irfan Ali, stating his great respect for the president and the people of Guyana. In an interview with News Source last month, Ambassador Van West Charles stated that he intends to push Guyana's position to have the Latin America and Caribbean region remain a zone of peace and to restart critical collaborations between Guyana and Venezuela. Dr. Richard Van West Charles has taken another diplomatic posting at a time when there are renewed concerns about Venezuela's ongoing claims of Guyana's Essequibo region and its military buildup near the Guyana border. Tensions flared between the two countries in November and early December of last year, but calmed following a meeting between the presidents of Guyana and Venezuela in St. Vincent. That meeting was organized by CARICOM, CELAC and Brazil and resulted in the birth of the Argyle Declaration, which mandates the two countries to maintain peace and do nothing to interfere with the peace or to provoke the peace in the region. Guyana currently has Venezuela before the International Court of Justice as it seeks a juridical settlement of the border controversy.
Did you know Guy Super 95 gasoline has an octane rating of 95, the highest rating available in Guyana? This premium fuel is known to enhance the performance of your engine, making it run smoother and more efficiently, leading to better fuel economy and improved performance. Choose Super 95 for more mileage and better overall performance.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors that me crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
With your regional and international news tonight, I'm Svetlana Marshall. In the region, the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, has appeared in a New York courtroom where he stands accused of protecting drug traffickers, according to the BBC. Prosecutors say he ran the Central American nation like a narco state, accepting millions of dollars in bribes from cocaine traffickers. In exchange, he allegedly tipped them off about planned raids and even ordered the army to protect them. Mr. Hernandez has denied any wrongdoing and pleaded not guilty. He's facing 3 charges, 1 of conspiring to import cocaine to the U.S. and 2 of carrying weapons in furtherance of the cocaine importation conspiracy. If convicted of all 3, he could face life in prison. Colombia's government could restart aerial bombing campaigns against illegal armed groups as long as intelligence makes certain minors will not be affected, the defense minister said on Tuesday. In a report, Reuters said the government and human rights group accused illegal armed groups of forcefully recruiting minors, including to try to discourage the bombing of their camps. Bombings by Colombia's Air Force helped drive the now demobilized rebels of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia to sign a peace deal in 2016 and subsequently targeted leaders of other armed groups like the National Liberation Army. President Gustavo Petro ordered the bombing suspended just days after taking office in August 2022 to avoid civilian deaths, including of forcefully recruited children, and in a nod to his policy of total peace to end the country's internal armed conflict, which has left more than 450,000 people dead. There will be no restriction on bombing when intelligence reliably confirms that there are no more minors present, the defense minister. And finally tonight, international news. China has sharply criticized the U.S. for vetoing a United Nations Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Beijing said the move sent the wrong message and effectively gave a green light to the continued slaughter. The White House said the Algerian proposed resolution would jeopardize talks to end the war. The U.S. has proposed its own temporary ceasefire resolution, which also warned Israel not to invade the city of Rafah. Algeria's resolution was backed by 13 of the 15 members of the UN Security Council, with the UK abstaining. Under the Council's rules, any resolution that is vetoed by one of its 5 permanent members, which includes the US, is immediately thrown out. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.